Happy New Year! So welcome to the first official episode of The Abbey Card Show, which is going to be shot on YouTube and on podcast as well. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all had an absolutely amazing Christmas and New Year. Pretty sure it's New Year for everyone right now in the world. Yeah, I think it will be. So guys, before we start, I do want to pay tribute? I don't know what it's called, but to the incredible coffee mug that I've got right here. So this is a Harry Potter coffee mug. For those of you who can see it on YouTube, it has got a picture of the Marauders map on there. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, you know exactly what that is. And if you're not, go watch Harry Potter. But the cool thing about this mug is that when it gets hot, the Marauders map appears, and then when it gets cold, after I drink it all, the Marauders map disappears, which is, I don't know, pretty epic in my opinion. And that is ridiculously hot. If you are wondering what I drink or what I am drinking, it is an almond cappuccino, homemade of course, and I've sprinkled a little bit or grated a little bit of 70% Lindt dark chocolate on there, which makes it full of antioxidants and absolutely delicious. So today's podcast is going to be on goal setting. It's a very fitting time to talk about goal setting as it is coming into the new year. So when we go into goal setting or New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to sort of call it, what I find when people make a lot of mistakes, let's just be honest, because, you know, Jan 2nd comes in after the new year, you're pumped, you started, Jan 15 comes in, you're still probably going, Jan 31st comes in, and you've stopped doing whatever it is you're doing. So the issue there is, I think a lot of people try to be too adventurous. Now, I'm a big believer in reaching for the stars, like go big, and because going big allows you to be able to change into the person you need to become to achieve that specific goal. So at the same time, you've got to be able to set those realistic goals, which we're about to go through very shortly. I'm going to go show you through some of mine or the way I sort of do it, and hopefully you can take some value out of this. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're just listening on the podcast, I'm going to explain it to you in as much detail as I possibly can. But when you're setting goals, you need to first and foremost know what you're passionate about. I think a lot of people do, especially if you look at the health and fitness industry, go, okay, it's the new year, I've spent a couple of years eating absolute shit. Now I'm going to get in the best shape of my life in the next 12 weeks. And it can happen. I've done it with a lot of my own clients, but it's also, you've got to sort of look at your own drive and determination, because oftentimes it just doesn't because of that drive and determination. But the underlying factor is you need to know, as cliche as it sounds, you need to know your why. You need to know what the hell you're doing and why you're actually doing it. A lot of people also have too many ideas, to be honest with you. Now, what we're about to do on you guys on YouTube, I'm going to show you some of the $1 million ideas, because everyone has a $1 million idea that they think is going to be, you know, the next big thing, the next Facebook. Especially in this entrepreneurial driven age, everyone wants to build the next Facebook or the next Uber or wherever it might be. You're trying to aim for something that necessarily isn't your goal, that isn't your why. Most people, and I think everybody can probably attest and agree with this, is all we really want when we break away all the bullshit and the materialistic things in life is fulfillment. We just want to be fulfilled with our life. Now that could be as simple as having a family, a couple of kids, house, dog, car, cool. Or it could be as adventurous as building, you know, something insane like a Facebook or an Uber or something like that. But you've got to just be really honest with yourself and define what fulfillment actually looks like to you, because it's going to be different for every individual and every person. So be really honest with yourself, be really open with yourself as to what you actually want to achieve. Because if you're not, then you're not giving yourself the best possible start. And that's what you want to do when you are actually setting goals. So we're about to head over to the whiteboard and we're going to run through some stuff. Okay, so as you can see behind me, I've got my whiteboard up. If you are listening on the podcast, I'm going to talk you through exactly what the guys on YouTube are actually seeing. So on the left-hand side is every idea that you can possibly have. So we've got what we call our $1 million ideas. Everybody has a $1 million idea. We're going to go through those in a sec, but First and foremost, what I suggest you do is get every crazy, adventurous, entrepreneurial idea out of your head. Get it out of your head. You don't have to use a whiteboard, obviously, just write on a piece of paper and write down everything. Number 1 to 25 or whatever it sort of might be, the amount of ideas. Because once they're all out, then we can really start focusing and doing the work, the necessary work that needs doing to actually make some of these goals actually achievable. What a lot of people go wrong is they try to achieve everything all at once. There's an old saying, it's the average millionaire's 7 streams of income. Cool, but first they had to have one. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have one stream of income first and then capitalize and build and grow from that. So what I suggest you do first and foremost is number 1 to 25 or 1 to whatever the number is, and write down every single crazy idea that you have. So I'll go through a few of mine that have popped in my head. So we just called that list $1 million ideas, because everyone thinks that their idea is $1 million idea. So on my list, I've just numbered 1 to 10 for space. So I've got actor, author or novelist, a gym owner, a script writer, a clothing line owner, which I'm sure everybody wants to be an apparel owner at some point, own my own podcast, an energy drink line, a professional athlete, which I was at one point, by the way, but that's for another story, a stock trader. The amount of hours I put into researching how to trade on Wall Street was absolutely mind-boggling, and I didn't really give a shit about it, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know why I did it. It was honestly a thing you could probably take away from this is, if you have to struggle to think about, to research, to do whatever it is on your particular idea, it's probably not going to be the idea that you should be doing for the rest of your life. All right, so that's a long fucking time. And then lastly, we've got investor as well. So those are my $1 million ideas. There are some of the ideas. Now what you've got to do, now you've written all these crazy ideas down, is right next to that, number 1 to 5, okay? These 5 ideas are going to be, I just call them your passions. Okay, so these are the ideas. Make sure podcast still running. Yeah, it was good. Make sure these ideas are the ones that you feel are the most important. So basically what you're going to do, you're going to look through that list that you've just created, your $1 million ideas, and you're going to circle just 5. So 5 of those ideas, it might be less, but definitely no more. But those ideas are going to be your life. That is it. That's what you're going to achieve with your life. And if throughout your journey, you decide that one of those ideas isn't really what you're passionate about, you take it off and you can add another one in replacement of that. But what you can't do is think, oh, I'm really passionate about this as well, and add another thing to the list. What you've got to remember is you've only got a limited amount of time on this earth. You can't do everything. So pick something, run with it, and adjust accordingly. So for me, if you look on that board, very, very simple. I've got acting and podcast. Hence, we're on a podcast right now. Obviously, YouTube's in there as well. So it's a YouTube podcast, but it's a show. It's the Abby Khan show. This is what I want to build. This is going to be part of my legacy. And acting is the thing that I'm the most passionate about in the world as well. So I've got my 2 on there. Basically what you'll do now, if you've got 1, 2, 5, whatever it's going to sort of be, but no more than 5, remember, then we're going to go into our actual goal setting. So our actual goal setting, I like using the SMART principle. You've probably heard of this before. So if you've not heard of the SMART principle, basically, SMART is an acronym. We got specific, measurable, achievable, reward, and time frame. There's a few different ways of doing this, but this is the method that I specifically use. So specific, the law of specificity. You've got to be very, very clear on exactly what you want to achieve. So if we just use the health and fitness industry, because it's what I'm in, if we use fat loss, I want to drop weight is not good enough. I want to feel a bit leaner is not good enough. You need to be very specific. I want to drop 10 kilos. I want to fit into a size 8 dress. I want to see 65 kilos on the scale, or whatever it's going to sort of be. I want to get on stage in this particular category and this particular federation. You've got to be very specific, because it's only through that specificity that we're able to create very, very specific goals. Okay. Next, we got measurable. Is your goal measurable, and how are you going to measure it? So again, let's go fat loss specific. Let's use a goal of, I want to lose 10 kilos. How do we measure that? Well, we measure that through scale weight. We measure that through measurements, as in girth measurements, using a tape measure around your arm, chest, waist, hip, thigh, and calf. They're just very easy ones to do. Or you might use skinfold calipers. You might use a DEXA scan if you've got a coach, or you can do this yourself. Is take weekly photos as well. So those are the ways we're going to measure it. Next one is achievable. Is your goal actually achievable? Using something such as, I'm going to run to Mount Everest Base Camp next week, is not very achievable. Something like if you are 30 kilos overweight, but you want to compete in bodybuilding at the back end of the year, probably not the most achievable thing again, especially if you want to be really, really competitive and do it in a healthy, the operative word is healthy there, if you do it in a healthy format. So the goal actually has to be achievable. Let's look at our fat loss goal again. I want to lose 10 kilos and I'm going to give myself 20 weeks to do it. It's possible, or 30 weeks to do it. It's definitely possible. So the goal actually has to be achievable. The next one here, I use reward. So reward for me relates to your why. Why are you actually doing this? What is the reward? Is it to feel more self-confident in yourself? If we're using the fat loss goal. Is it to feel more self-confident? Is it to get on stage at the end of the year or in 2 years' time? Is it for your wedding? Is it for your honeymoon? Is it for a holiday? Is it to improve your health and well-being and happiness and positivity? Is it to reduce your risk of injury or of surgery? You might be, God forbid, knocking on death's door and your doctor said, hey, look, it's time to pull your finger out your ass and actually do something. So make sure that reward is actually worth it. Also with reward, I like setting small little milestones along the way. So if you try to lose 10 kilos, you might go, okay, every 2 kilos, I'm going to give myself a little bit of a reward meal, something not over the top, something that I can really work towards. And that's going to make me feel good and help me keep pushing forward. So reward is the R in SMART. And the next one, time frame. Time frame is one of the most crucial ones because what time frame is going to do is actually give you a focus point, a deadline, almost burn the boats. This is when you're going to be ready. I know for my photo shoot, I give myself a date and I was like, I'm going to do a photo shoot on this particular date, regardless of what I look like. I'm going to go and do that photo shoot and I'm going to commit to putting those photos all throughout my social media. And if I look like absolute shit, then so be it. But that is the deadline. That is the burn my boats moment. So you've got to create a time frame. If a wedding, obviously it's going to be the wedding date, or it might be a week prior to the wedding. Honeymoon, holiday, there's specific dates. Bodybuilding, for example, if you're going to get on stage or you're going to compete in a CrossFit competition or any sort of contest, set the date. Book the date is my advice. So if you are going to compete on stage, then find the date, find the federation, seek advice if you've never done one before. Don't just go and book the date and think that, oh, it's going to be okay because you've booked the date. Seek advice if it's your first one. But I advise making that commitment so ingrained in you, so sort of powerful that you have to do it. And by booking the date, you are able to do that. So to recap, left-hand side of your page, you will write down every crazy, adventurous, multi-million-dollar idea that you can down the page. Next, you will circle 5 of those and write down your passions right next to that. 5, no more than 5. And then each of those goals, you will go through the SMART principle, which is specific, measurable, achievable, reward, and time frame. And you will do that for every single one of your goals. So they're all saying that goal setting is the key to making the invisible visible. And it couldn't be more true in my opinion, because if you don't know where you're going, it's very difficult to be able to formulate a path or a blueprint in order to get there. So you can follow the principle that we just sort of run through, the SMART principle. You can use anything that really works for you. There's no magical one way sort of, or one size fits all. But what you've got to be able to do is, regardless of what the method that you use is be very, very clear and be very, very focused on what it is you want to achieve. Because look back on your life, and it's one thing I do say to all of my clients, is look back on your life, look 5 years back. Are you in the position right now where you thought you would be 5 years ago? If you were to imagine you were your past self, or even a year ago, are you in the position that you want to be in right now? And 9 times out of 10, I'd even say 10 times out of 10, the answer is no. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that a lot of people don't actually know where they're going or don't know how to actually get there. So by setting goals, you're at least giving yourself a bit of a chance to go, all right, here's what I want to achieve. And here's exactly how, step by step, I'm going to get there. Because life, I guess, it's kind of a funny thing. We do live for a long time. Like 12 months, 365 days, whatever it is a long enough time. Like we definitely have to be patient. But that doesn't mean that we can't work ridiculously hard. That doesn't mean that we can almost accept, okay, it's going to be all right, it'll happen in the end. That's not an excuse or a reason to be able to take the foot off the gas pedal, as it were. My advice to people is to, you've got to be patient in wanting what you want to achieve, but you've also got to be willing to just give everything for it. You've got to be willing to bust your ass. And that's one of the reasons I advise setting a goal quite adventurous, because especially a long-term goal, what we're sort of specifically going through right now with the SMART principle is more of a short-term principle or a short-term format. But I still advise you setting something so ridiculously big, whether that is getting on stage and bodybuilding, whether that is for me, becoming an actor. I want this podcast to be the number one podcast in the world. Like, number one. I want to let it reach 1 billion ears and let people be able to be inspired to listen to it. And if you are having a hard day, that you can listen to one of these episodes and get some inspiration or take some practical advice in order to better your life that particular day. Like, those goals are adventurous as hell. And it's not so much about achieving them, but it's about putting the work in order to get there. And that's the real fun in life. So I hope you learned something today. I hope you can take something away from this. And when you are creating your smarter goals or writing down your crazy multi-million-dollar ideas and your passions, I want you to share them with me, because I think sharing them, as I said to you earlier with my photo shoot, it allows things to become real. And that's what's going to be a major driving force towards achieving that specific goal. So share with me on whether it is in this podcast, in the notes, whether that is on YouTube, in the comment section, or whether it is on Instagram. I'd love to be able to just tag me on Instagram if you are not following me. My handle is I am Abi Khan. That's pretty much across the board on Twitter and all those, and TikTok and all those other things. Or it's just Abi Khan. If you want to know how to spell that, it's the name of the show. So just use my name from there. But please tag me, because I want to be able to share this journey with you guys, and you guys to share it with me, so that we can really create this personal ability and this communication, which is basically what we want as human beings. We want to be able to communicate, feel like we belong to a tribe and to a higher purpose in our lives. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you did enjoy, please hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Please share on Anchor or Spotify or Apple iTunes, whatever you're listening on. But I want to really just say thank you so much for listening, and let's share and spread the love.